Good morning. Thank you for attending VirtualPBX admin training. If you're a vConsole customer, we no longer do the live training for vConsole. However, if you go to our support pages under support and then vConsole support, which is this page here, you can scroll down a ways. And the advanced admin training is the training we have for vConsole admins. And this covers all the features that you would need. Also, further down, we have the guides for the various features and devices for vConsole. Dash, again, we have a Dash support page. And when you scroll down here, the new user training actually covers the training that we're going over today. So you can watch that at any time, as well as smaller trainings for specific features here. And likewise, we have guides for the very specific features with screenshots, as well as for devices. So let's go ahead and get to it. So to log in, under support, click on Dash Login. It's going to open up a new tab for you. All right, so your login is always, your username is your email address. Password, generally automatically created for you, although you can change that at any time. And then the account name, which is normally your company name. Obviously, if you forget anything, you can always click on Forgot Your Info. And then click on Sign In. And I used the wrong password, and it tells me those invalid credentials. Now, one thing to keep in mind for the username, especially the first time you log in, your browser may automatically capitalize your name for the first character of your email address. So you want to make sure you put that in lowercase. Get that corrected, and we get to the dashboard. Now, the first time you log in on a new account, the wizard will pop up, walk you through a couple things. Once you close out of that, then you get to the dashboard. All right, so up here at the top right is what support refers to as the hamburger menu. It's the 3 horizontal lines. Dashboard, that's what we're on right now. Then we have queues. So this is if you're making use of ACD queues. This gets you to the queues to set them up, change their settings, etc. Blacklists is to block phone numbers from contacting your. Basically, if you know the phone number of someone who's been harassing your business, you can then put them on a blacklist so they can't connect. Faxes, this is actually getting to the fax manager. So any admin can get to any fax box and look at any fax. Recordings, this goes to your call recordings. So you can download and listen to them there and there. The user portal, this is, every user has a user portal, basically, so you can check your voicemail. You can set up call forwarding from here as well. Voicemails, this is the voicemail manager. So again, as an admin, you have access to every voicemail box, so you can get to any voicemail. And then lastly, webhooks. This is basically making use of APIs to basically hook Dash into another software application. All right, right here, total users. Users are fully featured people on the account. These are people who make and receive calls. They can, on Dash, they can receive calls on VoIP devices as well as a cell phone or a landline. They're going to have features, I mean, not just voicemail, but they'll have things like conferencing available to them. They can set up the follow me calling if they have multiple devices, conference bridge, their own fax box, etc. Right? These are people who make and receive calls on a day-to-day basis. Agents, these are people specific to ACD queues. These are generally people who are receiving calls only, and they're restricted to VoIP phones only. So a physical VoIP phone like a Yealink or Polycom, or a soft phone application, either our own or a third-party one, or the web phone. Next up, we've got devices, total devices, and basically their breakdown, so you know what you're using. Unregistered simply means that the system doesn't know that they're connected, and it's probably so we can't actually send calls to those devices. All right, over here we have main numbers. You can have more than 2 main numbers, but as many as you want. These numbers all behave the same way. They have the same main greeting, and they'll route to the same location initially. Fax box number, this is for your inbound faxes, if you're still making use of faxing. Total numbers, this shows you all the numbers you have on your account. Assigned numbers, these are numbers that you're using. They go someplace, whether they're a main number or a fax box number. They can be a conference number. They can go directly to a user. They can go directly to a ring group or directly to one of your ACD queues. Right? That means they're just basically in use in some fashion. Spare numbers are numbers you have on your account, but they're not going anyway. They don't ring. You're still being charged for them, but basically you're holding them for a future advertising campaign or future growth. And then we have it broken down. USTID would be a US local number, so like 702 area code, 310 area code, etc. And then US toll-free 800 numbers, 888, 877, etc. Your company directory, so these are people who are on your account and their contact information, and you can download that. The account ID, this long alphanumeric string, this is technically your account number. So if you ever need to communicate with us, you can include that, and we can find you. Although, if you ever call in to support or a billing team or account services team, we'll typically just ask you for your company name, and we'll look you up that way. The account realm, this is used for outbound faxing, because for outbound faxing, you're just using an email, and that's the domain you're using. We also use this for programming third-party VoIP devices. And each of these, the account realm is going to change by account. And the newest thing here is your store discount code. Just by being a customer, you automatically get a discount on anything you buy through the store. Right, up here is your account caller ID. Again, it's going to be based off of your main numbers. You can set them up for each one. The company caller ID name, this is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. This is a standard among the telecom industry in North America. Some things to keep in mind, not every carrier that calls route through supports CNAME, which means if a call happens to route through one of those carriers, the CNAME information won't go through. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's the lowest priority, right? So their primary focus is to connect call, and then their secondary thing is to make sure the caller ID shows up, and then lastly, the caller ID name. So if they're having unexpected call volume, or they're having like a maintenance window, that information may not come through. One last thing to keep in mind is if you're testing calls to a cell phone and you're testing for CNAME, so cell phone providers don't generally offer CNAME for free. It's usually a paid service, or they might have like a trial app that you can use for like 30 days or whatever. And even if you're going to another device, any device that you can program contacts into, right? If they've programmed your company number already into their phone, the device's information is going to override anything we send it to the device. All right, down below, we've got the company emergency or E911 address, and this is basically for your VoIP phones. The system does want this information in, even if you're not using VoIP phones. But basically, from a VoIP phone, someone picks up the phone, calls 911. This is the default address that gets sent to emergency services. Obviously, you want this to be correct. And you can actually set them up by different devices. So if you have people in remote locations, they can have their own or their appropriate E911. And if you make any changes, you click on Save Changes. hold music. This is the default hold music on the account. So hold music on Dash is after a call has connected to a user. That user then puts the customer on hold by pressing the hold button on their VoIP phone. Right, and then so this is the default music that will play. For Dash, you can upload media files. Basically, it's either a .wav, .wav, or a .mp3. When uploading to a phone system, you want to make sure that the file you upload is recorded in mono, not in stereo. If you do upload a stereo file and you listen to it when you call into the system and listen to it, you're going to hear a lot of static. And that's just the nature of a stereo media file playing over a mono device. And lastly, currently the file size is restricted to 1 megabyte, which on an MP3 is roughly 5 minutes long. That's something the engineers are looking at. Uploading, you click on the upload button, you find the file on your computer, and you click on this icon right here to upload it to your system. And then you would click on Save Changes. Then next, we will go to hours of operations, which is actually part of our main numbers area. All right, so for a new account, you're put into 24-hour open office, meaning you're open 24/7. That doesn't work for everybody, so the next option is custom office hours. If you select that, you put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open. All right, if you're closed, you just leave it unchecked. Then in the boxes to the right, you put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. And down here at the bottom, if your whole office or store is closed for lunch, right? So everyone just says, "Hey, it's noon. We're all out." Put a check mark here saying, "Yes, we're closed for lunch," and then put your lunch time, your lunch hours, in the boxes provided. And then click Save Changes. Office holidays, you can set your office holidays in advance. One thing to keep in mind is these are just dates. They're not, there's no year associated with them, so you can't get too far forward. All right. Add holidays, a single day, which would in this case be President's Day. You give it a label, you choose the date, and then you would click Save. All right. Next up is date range. So this would be this one here for Christmas, December 22nd to the 26th. So basically, December 22nd rolls around, system could put you in holiday mode. And then the last option is advanced, which is this one up here. The second Monday in March every year, we're closed. Right? It's a company retreat. So a couple caveats. For something like President's Day, which the date changes each year, after it's gone by, you're either going to want to delete the current version or wait a few days and then update with a new date, so that way you don't make yourself closed on successive days. For date range, because there's no year input, you don't want to have a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You're going to want to put each one of those in a single day, and then if you're closed before or after, do a date range before and after. All right. Next is incoming call handling. So this is basically how is your system handling calls that come into your main numbers. You have these tabs, these sub-tabs across the top. So open hours, when you're open for business. Lunch hours, because I put a check mark there saying, hey, we're closed for lunch. After hours, so when you're closed. And then holidays. Now these tabs all have the same options down here, but you can set them up differently. All right, so open hours, first option here is call comes in, goes to the virtual receptionist. The virtual receptionist is a link. Boom. Here you go. So on the left-hand side, we have your main menu. This is what your customers will press on their phones to navigate through your phone system. All right. you would click on Add Route, and you can then pick something on the dial pad. So we'll take forward, for example, and then where do you want it to go? Okay, so Smart Directory, again, so people can find, choose who they want to go to. Users, so any user that you have on the system. Call queues, any ACD queues you may have on the system. You can actually send a call to a specific device. I don't typically recommend that, but you may want to do that. It goes down here. You can send it to a specific media file. Again, not something I typically recommend, but basically if you just want them to hear a message. The downside of that is that once the message ends, then the system says goodbye and ends the call. Groups, these are ring groups, basically a department. And then lastly, should be, just voicemail boxes. So you can send it directly, go leave a voicemail, or again, hear a message. Now, one thing, if you make any changes to the virtual receptionist, you click Save here. You also need to click Save Changes here, and that will make sure all your changes go through. Open this back up. Over here on the right, these are your greeting options. So text-to-speech, you type it, you hit Update, you click Save Changes, it's ready to go. And the script stays there, so if it doesn't sound right or you need to make a small adjustment, you can just type it in again. Right? Upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono. You can upload it and use it. If you already have several files, you can just choose one that's already there and use that. This is great for after the holidays or after a holiday, you can then switch back to your normal main greeting afterwards. Record it over the phone. So the system assumes you're going to be using a VoIP phone that's on the account. But then you just pick up from the VoIP phone, dial your main number, enter the PIN number here, and then it'll walk you through recording it over the phone. Now, if you already have a greeting in place and you just want to record a new one over the phone, it's not going to walk you through it. You're going to hear the established main greeting, but when you hear that greeting play, you enter the PIN number, and then it'll start walking you through recording over the phone again. Professional recording services, we've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. And if you click Order, for example, it'll take you to their website. They have something like 100 different voice actors to choose from, male and female. They have like Spanish. They have French. You can do bilingual. They can mix in music. They have packages where you can mix in music with the script, etc. They handle their own billing. They handle delivery. And they actually have it in the correct format in terms of, it's in mono, so you don't have to worry about any of that. All right, down here, settings, number of retries on misdial. Basically, how many times is your greeting going to play, and how many times are you giving your inbound caller, a misdial? Like I hit 7, which isn't an option. Okay, the system, plays the message again. They hit 7 again. You're like, okay. Right after that second misdial, it says, okay, the call's ended, or we're going to send you to the default route. All right, this option here, this is a call comes in, and you're sending it to someone, right? That person or people, if you'd send it to a ring group. They don't answer, then they go to the virtual receptionist. Right, so give someone a chance to answer the call first. Again, typically it's users and ring groups. This one is similar. Over on the right, call comes in. Again, someone has a chance to answer, but if they don't answer, then you're sending them to a particular voicemail box. And as I noticed, or we may have noticed before, these are the same options available on all of your tabs. The main thing to keep in mind is when you're trying to call in to record a main greeting, if you want to do your lunch hours greetings, you need to be in lunch hours in terms of timing on the system. So if you're just in your normal open hours and you want to do your lunch hours, you have to wait until your lunchtime, or you put the system artificially in lunchtime temporarily while you make the call in. Save changes. All right. Your main fax box number, again, this is your number for incoming faxes. If you edit the fax box, oh, I have an error. Well, I'm not sure what's going on there. But the box that should come up will basically allow you to input an email address. That's where you want your inbound faxes to be sent to. Or you can put in a domain as well, which means basically for your outbound faxing, who can send a fax. So basically, if your company has their own domain, anyone with that domain can then send a fax out. They don't have to be a user on the account. In worst case, if you don't see that, you can always email support, and we can help you with that. All right, over here on numbers, these are the numbers on your account. So for your default are on numbers in use. Now, these red numbers here, they're actually not on the account. These were porting attempts that haven't gone through. But then down here, you've got all the numbers that are being unused and where they're going. Call flows is either going into an ACD queue or it's going to the fax box. And then spare numbers, these are numbers on your account, yet you're not using them currently. If you want to add numbers, you click on the buy button here. So local, and then you enter in, let's go with 703. You enter in an area code, you click search. All right, 703, it doesn't have anything available. You go back. Let's go with 725. Wow, I'm over 2. There we go. All right, so you click add on the number you want, and then you click on buy numbers, and it adds it to your account. Now, depending on your account, you have usually showing 1 and 3 numbers included in your account. So if you only have 1 number and your account includes 2, adding a second number doesn't change your bill at all, right? It's when you get to that 3rd or 5th or whatever number, that's when your bill would go up. Typically, it's I believe it's $5 per number. Port a number takes you into the port process, and you have a new port request here. Enter number. Basically, you follow the on-screen instructions to begin the port process. Oops. Basically, what we need is an LOA, letter of agency, which is available on our website, and typically a copy of your most recent bill from your current carrier. You submit that in your port request. Our porting team looks it over, make sure everything's correct, and then they submit that to the other carrier. Then we wait for the other carrier to respond to us, basically let us say, hey, yes, it's okay, here the port's going to complete on this date, or if there's a problem and they let us know what the problem was, then the porting team lets you know. If you don't want to submit it through the portal here, you can always just email porting@virtualpbx.com and include the LOA and the copy of the bill via the email. Porting can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. Toll-free numbers are faster, typically. That's because there's more regulation involved on them. Local numbers usually, or more often, can get into weeks versus toll-free. Toll-free is usually in a few days, if everything's correct. All right, users. This is where you add a user. So you include, their first and last name. Every user has to have a unique email address, right? So you put in my email address here. I can only use it once, right? If I want to have multiple users under myself, I either have to have, basically, I need to put in different email addresses. Like if I don't care, I can just put in a number here and it'll work. or I could put like my home email address or what have you. You create a password, main extension number. So I started off with extension 1000. You can start off in a different digit and then it'll mark up going from there. And then the main thing you always want to do is this one here, send credentials to the user. Basically, the system will create the user and then send them an email saying, here's your login information. So if we click on, so anyone with the little blue suit, they're system admin. Anyone without, they're a standard user. So admins basically have everything, access to everything you do. And we're going over here. We click on a name. All right, you can change their email address and their credentials. So like if they forgot or this person no longer with the company. Voicemail box pin, you can always add it here. You want a pin in place, especially for people who are mostly using cell phones, and then they can manipulate the system through their cell phone. They can log in over the phone, they can record their greeting, etc. If you want to send emails to alternate address, basically an additional address on top of their main address up here, right? So like their home address, right? You have the option here to include or remove them from the directory. Here's where you change whether they're an admin or a user. Now, if you just signed up, you're the only user on the account and you're the only admin on the account, right? You're one and the same. We have had a couple customers every now and then who accidentally change themselves to a user. They click Save Changes, and then they log out. Well, now they no longer have an admin on the account. One thing to avoid. This is your time zone. You can select account default or choose your specific one. Language on the system. Ringing timeout. This is how much time, excuse me, the system will by default ring to devices that are associated with this user. Now, this user has a feature in place called Follow Me. So that's overriding that feature, or the ringing timeout. And then extensions could have multiple extension numbers. So if you click on the extensions box, you can always add an additional extension to this user. Here you have a phone number field. You can add additional numbers here if you want to. So multiple phone numbers can come in directly to this user. And so basically what this is saying is this, if you call this 855 number, it's going to go directly to Denard. It's not going to go through the auto attendant at all. So basically, like your salespeople probably going to like this, so that way the calls come directly to them. Don't have to worry about someone else getting the call. All right, devices. This is where you can add devices to the account or to the user. Spare devices means you already have a device on the account, or new devices because you're adding a new one. So SIP phone, it's a VoIP phone. Usually it's a physical VoIP phone. You have these manufacturers available to you. You find the model of the phone. You give it a name. And then you put in the MAC address of the phone. Every phone has a MAC address. It's usually on the back on a sticker. And then you click Create Device. Now, we have more information on our website about what else you have to do for that. But as far as the dashboard is concerned, you're done with the VoIP device. However, on the VoIP device itself, you need to adjust one of the in the phone's web UI. There's a couple settings you need to change in there. It'll cause the phone to reboot and then properly connect, and then the phone's ready to go. The advantage of adding phones that are on this list, or any of these lists, right, is that basically you get to use almost every feature that's on that phone, right? You can use the transfer button, you can use the hold button. If your phone has like the BLF keys or presence keys, you can set those up as well. All right, cell phone, you put a name, and then you put +1 area code and phone number. The same applies also for landline phone numbers. And then you click Save Changes, or Create Device, excuse me. Under Advanced, There's a couple options. So when Dash sends calls to a cell phone or a landline, right, your phone will ring, you pick up. You're going to hear an automated voice come up and say, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1 to accept." Right, so this is basically the system trying to confirm that someone is actually there to pick up the call. If you don't press 1, and you have to do it fairly quickly, right, then the call will go either to your next device or the next user, depending on where the call is coming from, or it'll go to your user voicemail box. Now, some people don't want that. They just want to be able to pick up the phone and start talking. So if you want to do that, you put a check mark in front of use allow cell phones voicemail. So what that does is now as soon as you pick up on your cell phone, you start talking to the other person. The potential downside is if you don't pick up and your cell phone voicemail picks up, we still treat that as a connected call, so that inbound caller gets to your cell phone's voicemail. Up to you if that's good or not. Keep original caller ID. Basically, when calls are coming through, it'll show up on your phone with that person's actual phone number. If you uncheck it, instead of their phone number, you're going to get your company phone number showing up, whatever main number they called in on. Or if you have a number on your user, that number. Right, so that's one way to let you know, oh, this is a business call versus your mom calling you. And then hide it from contact list. This is so it doesn't show up on the company directory. Soft phone. The soft phone is a type of VoIP phone. If you give it a name, and if you use it, leave it like this means you're going to be using a third-party device or a third-party application. So Xlite from Counterpath. If you click right here, that changes it to our VirtualPBX application. So you can just give it a name, click Create Device. The system will then create the device and send you an email with your login credentials to use the VirtualPBX app. Now, by default, that is the mobile version of the VirtualPBX phone app. If you want the desktop version, you're going to want to order that through the store up here, and then our fulfillment team will get that straightened out for you. Web phone, it's also a VoIP phone. You give it a name, and you click Create Device. So what this does, the web phone makes use of a desktop browser. Right now, that's Chrome and Firefox. And you can then use that browser to make and receive calls. It's basic phone functionality. There's you can't conference in a third person for it, for example. It doesn't consistently work on mobile versions of those browsers yet. Like I know on my Android phone, I'm able to make use of it on Chrome. However, I have coworkers who have iPhones, and it doesn't matter what browser they use, it won't work. Our engineers are working on a new version of the web phone with expanded features and expanded support, but I don't have an ETA on that. And you can always log in to the web phone up here. The advantage of the web phone is it uses the same credentials that you log into Dash with, whereas the soft phone app has its own set of credentials. All right, and then landline is the same as cell phone, and no one really uses fax and ATA. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the user features. All right, so caller ID number. This is available if you have a phone number on the user directly. And basically what I'm doing is I'm saying use this caller ID for my outbound calls versus the main numbers on the account. Right? If I don't want to do that, then I just turn it off. And so now when I make outbound calls, I'm going to use the main number on the account. Right, call forwarding. So call forwarding is specifically for VoIP users. Basically, it's normally I'm at a desk. I have a VoIP phone I use at my desk. Now, if I'm going to be away from my desk, I can make use of call forwarding. and have it go to my cell phone or a landline number, right? Now this is when it's on, right? Or you can have it off so you're not using it at all. Failover mode means the system detects that your VoIP phone went offline, right? It shows up red as a red device under your users. It knows, okay, we can't connect to your VoIP phone. We're automatically going to forward to your cell phone. This is usually what I recommend for most VoIP phone users. Now, the main thing to remember is about that cell phone is that it should not be a device on your user, right? You're primarily using VoIP phone, and then for forwarding purposes, you add your cell phone number, but you're not adding the cell phone as a device on the user itself. Right. Hot desking, again, this is a VoIP feature, and this is for when you have staff members in a shared office environment where they may be switching desks from day to day, right? So, Monday, I'm working at desk number 1. Tuesday, I'm working at desk 32. They have different VoIP phones there. But what hot desking allows me to do is I can log into the phone that I'm sitting at, and calls that are going to my user will show up on the VoIP phone that I have to be in front of because I have hot desking enabled. You basically give an ID number. You can require it a PIN or not and save changes. And basically, when you sit down at the desk you're sitting at for the day, you pick up the VoIP phone, you hit *11, that logs you in. It's going to ask you for your hot desk ID number at the very least. And then calls will start routing to you. At the end of my shift, I pick up the phone again. I hit *, I believe it's 12 to log out, and ask me for the hot desk ID, logs me out. Voicemails, every user has a voicemail box, and this will just come up as enabled or disabled. Right here, delete messages from the database after sending notification. So by default, the system is sending you an email saying, hey, you've got a voicemail, and it includes an attachment with the voicemail in it. We recommend deleting the voicemail after the notification is sent because on an account level, you can have up to 100 messages. Obviously, the more users you have, the quicker you're going to get to that. So if you just delete them after they've been notified, then you don't have to worry about a voicemail boxes being full and not getting voicemail. And usually you have quite a bit of storage available on your computer to listen to voicemails. Fax box, you can set up a fax box on a user. Generally, not recommended if you're already making use of the main fax box. Especially if you have lots of people faxing out. Now, if you're just expecting a lot of faxes coming in, and then you want your particular users to get their own faxes, then you can enable. Usually you select a spare number or you get a new one. You could also assign an extension. However, what that means is the person who's faxing in has to dial your main number, and then they have to know which extension that they're faxing to, enter that extension number, and then click, start fax, which most people don't do. Most people have it ingrained as like they go up to the fax machine, they scan the document, they enter the fax number, they hit send, and then they walk away. All right, follow me is when you have multiple devices on a user, and then this is how you want them to ring. Basically, I'm having it go here, then here. You can adjust the sliders however you want, or if you click over here, you can change the order, click distribute, and redistribute. Or you can say, hey, don't call me here. Music on hold. Users can have their own hold music. They can choose from files that are already on there, or they can upload their own. Again, .wave, .mp3 in mono. Then call recording. Okay, so inbound internal means another user on the account is calling me. So right now I wouldn't record that call. I can always turn that on. Right, inbound external, probably the one you want more on. Basically, customer calling this user. right? Outbound internal, me calling, or I'm calling another user on the account, or outbound internal, I'm calling another customer. And that is user features. We go over to ring groups. So ring groups are essentially departments or basically a group of people who can answer calls about a similar topic. Create a group. You give it a name. And you give it an extension number. And this is basically, the extension number is so your staff members can transfer a call to the group. Then you add people, and you just click and drag. And then you click Create Group. All right, if you click on the name, you can always change the name. And then you have dialing repeats with little arrows over here. Basically, how many times can an inbound caller ring through the group? Once is one time, two would be they can go through twice. And click on Save Changes. If you click on the members box, you've got all the members here. So this means that everyone rings for 20 seconds. Or I can distribute, so each person gets rung for 17 seconds in order. Let's say I want to move people around. And I would probably want to redistribute. And then again, you can adjust the sliders however you want. So one thing to keep in mind with ring groups, if, say, Novidar is on a call with someone already, and a call comes into the ring group, he will get a notification. He'll get like a beep in his ear, letting him know a call is coming into the ring group, even though he's already on a call. Right? So obviously he's going to want someone else on the team to hurry up and pick the call up. I'm getting tired of this beep. You click Save Changes. You can always add more extensions to it. Phone numbers, you can add a phone number directly to the group. Click Save Changes. And so now for this group, people can call this number directly instead of trying to navigate from the main menu. And then we have group features. Call recording on our group is basically all or nothing. Basically, you're saving all the calls to all the users that come in. Ringback is the hold music as the inbound caller is waiting for someone to pick up. The main thing you want to do is make sure whatever file you chose, the length of that file will match or exceed this right here, 120 seconds. This is your total ring time. You can change this. And then click Redistribute. Better. Next action. So no one's able to pick up on the 2 repeats. You enable this, and then you have a couple options. Basically, you can send them back to the main menu, i.e. the virtual receptionist, or send them to a voicemail box so they can leave a message. Allow call forward basically lets your VoIP users in the ring group to make use of call forwarding, right? If they don't, then it's only going to ring their VoIP devices. So if they're not at their desk, they're not going to be able to get those calls. And then caller ID prepend. This is a VoIP phone feature. Basically allows you to put either additional text or number information on the caller ID information, so that way your staff knows what the call's about. So for instance, I could put in June, and that would be part of the caller ID information that shows up on their phones when the call comes in through this ring group. All right, devices. Shows you all the devices on the account. Basically, red means we don't know that it's connected, or as far as we're concerned, it's not connected, i.e. make sure it's plugged in, or make sure check the network. Green means the system assumes it's green on a VoIP device means the system knows it's connected, right? For a cell phone, it means it assumes that a call can reach it. And then a black icon means that it's been disabled. You can add devices here. You got the same options as before. And you would add devices here, for instance, like you're opening a new location, and so you've got like 20 phones. You can add them all in, but you may not know who they're all going to yet. Like they haven't hired the 20 new staff members. Well, here, I'm putting these phones in here so that way when they're hired, then we can add them to the user later. Voicemail boxes. Again, these are the voicemail boxes on the account. The ones that with an associated users, these are the ones that were created when the user was created, right? So once the user is created, they automatically have a voicemail box. That voicemail box that's created with the user is intrinsically tied to the user. So you don't want to delete that box here unless you're sure that person will never want voicemail. Right? Because basically, if you delete, say, I delete Ray's voicemail box, right? Delete voicemail box. If I try to recreate it later and try to tie it back to Ray, it won't work. I have to delete Ray as a user and then add him back in, and then that will create the voicemail box completely tied to him. But the main reason you would be here would be to add a voicemail box for your ring groups. And if we go down here, we'll go down to May. Right, you give it a voicemail box, you give it a PIN number. For any voicemail box, you can upload a media file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, or choose one that's already on the system. All right, click Save Changes. Once you have a greeting assigned to it, then you can click on Already Set Up. And then you probably also want to delete after notifications. And then the other thing you might want to look at is recipients, basically who's getting the notifications that this box got a voicemail. All right, agents, again, similar to users, similar idea, name, unique email address, password, again, extension number, and you want to send credentials. But again, these are people who are specific to an ACD queue. Feature codes, these are codes you use on a VoIP device to make use of special features. These are also available on our website, so you don't have to log in to view them. Most common use are the voicemail ones and probably the call forwarding ones. Call logs, these are calls that came into your account or out, right? So green arrow going to the right means it came in. Orange arrow to the left means it was an outgoing call. You can click on a call to get some more information. And then the gear icon gives you technical information, which can be a little hard to understand. But basically what I know is that basically this call came in from this phone number. It came in on this number that I have on my account, and it lasted 33 seconds. And then you've got different time frames that you can choose from. All right, let's go over to Hamburger. So we just went through dashboard, so let's go to queues. Basically, this is taking me to the queues that are on this account. You can click on a gear icon to see the settings. These are the same settings that you would have when you're trying to set up a queue. You give a name. You can give it an inbound number or extension number. The queue routing strategy, round robin, basically it's random. Over time, it will equalize. Least calls means this is whoever's had the least amount of connected calls will get the next call that comes into the queue. Right? Least offers means who's had the least amount of calls offered to them will get the next call that comes in the queue. So like if you had like Bob and Mary have been working for an hour, right, and they've been getting calls, then Joe logs in. Well, he's had 0 offers. He's going to get the next call that comes in, and he's going to continue to get calls until his offers match at least one of the other 2. And then most idle, who's been waiting around for a call the longest. You got hold music options, and you can upload your own. Timeout in the queue, basically how long your inbound caller can wait on hold. How many people can wait on hold. Escalation queue basically means no one in this queue answered the call. You can send it to another ACD queue. Now, each ACD queue on Dash is $30 per month. So if you have an escalation queue, that means you're spending $60 on these 2 queues, right? Or if you leave it on none, then you can send it to a voicemail box. Agent recovery time measured in seconds. Basically, after they're done with a call, how much time do you give them to, say, have a sip of water, catch their breath, or finish filling out a ticket? Force away on rejected or missed. So if an agent misses a call, this setting, if you enable it, basically puts them in away mode, meaning they can't take a call until they mark themselves available again. And then agent connect timeout. This is how much time you ring to their devices before they move on to the next person in the queue. All right. Go to blacklists. And we edit blacklists. So basically, you give it a name. If you block anonymous, means if there's no valid caller ID coming in, then we'll block it. And then you can add specific phone numbers. Again, add +1 area code and phone number. You would click save. And you go back to settings. And then you want to make sure it's on the selected side, right? So if I put these back over here, for example, and click update. So just because I have blacklists available, they're not in effect. Once I move it over here, under selected, and click update, now this blacklist is in use. Fax box manager. You can get to any fax box on the account. You can check the outbound faxes for any fax box. And then the email to fax log to see what happened on a fax. So this told me, oh, that didn't go through. And then gives me the reasons why. In which case, this was a person who was not on this account, was trying to fax out. Call recordings. This goes to the recordings manager. Go to look at the user portal. So basically, you can see your own voicemails, your call history, faxes. Conference. This allows you to control a conference that you're in or about to have. Right? You can add people who are on your account into the conference. You can lock the conference so additional people can't log in. You can mute everybody, you can unmute everybody, you can end the conference. When you have actual participants, you can mute particular participants, or you can even kick particular participants as well. And then settings and devices, this is where you would set up call forwarding. And your users have access to this themselves, so they can set up their own call forwarding. But again, it presumes that they have a VoIP device already on their account. That's they primarily use, and then they put in call forwarding for when they can't use that VoIP device. And then voicemails, again, gets to any voicemail box on the account. There's nothing there. And then likewise up here, we'll open that in YouTube. That goes to our store link. And then you can go through items here. Oh, why did this take me back to Dash? There we go. And then you can take a look at products we have available. And that is Dash admin training. And just so you know, on the bottom right here, this is an icon to get to support or even sales. It's basically chat. So you always have that option to contact us. If you have questions about a feature or something's not working quite right, you can contact our support team, again, through chat, or calling 888-825-0800. Option 2 will get you to support. Option 5 is billing. And then if you want to change your plan or you want more information on other plans, you'd want to click option 4 for the account services team. And that is it for the Dash admin training. If you other staff members need to go through this again, you can sign up for any of the future trainings, or you can simply watch this video here, and that'll take you through everything. But beyond that, I thank you for your time today and in joining me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.